Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be unboxing two additional products from DJI. First, I'm going to unbox the DJI OM5, which is a gimbal for cell phones, as well as a couple accessories. And then I'll also be unboxing and reviewing the DJI Action 2, which is probably one of the smallest cameras that I've seen so far, that has a lot of features, as well as some accessories. Now these two items are not necessarily new products from DJI, but the reason why we got them was because one, we didn't want to have to carry our DSLR cameras or large cameras around because they're just heavy and a lot to pack. And instead, be able to film our journey and adventure using our cell phones. So having a gimbal for our cell phones just made sense. In addition to that, because there may be some activities that we're doing that are action involved, I also didn't want to have a camera or a mini camera that I would have to hold, and instead wanted to get something that was small enough to both pack and carry, but also light as well. So this made sense because this DJI Action is probably, from what I understand, as small as a cube, and it has a magnetic backing, so I can just clip it on my clothes without needing to carry a lot of accessories. So I'm going to be unboxing these today, and we are going to be testing them out, and then you'll probably see a lot of footage from our Alaskan cruise coming up using these two products as well as our smartphone for a lot of the footage. So stay tuned and we'll check these things out. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we are about to go on an Alaskan cruise as well as a few other trips that we have planned. And we wanted to make sure that we not only packed lightly for those trips, but are able to also document and capture footage of our journey. So again, we are going to be unboxing and reviewing the DJI OM5, which is a gimbal for your smartphone, as well as the DJI Action 2 action camera, which is again the smallest camera that I've seen so far. So first, I guess we'll start with this smartphone gimbal, which is supposed to be one of the more full-featured gimbals specific for smartphones and small devices. Looks like in the box it does come with the OM5 itself. It comes with a storage pouch, a grip tripod, a wrist strap, which is something that I probably want to do because in my last trip when we went to Florida, I did end up losing a camera. So I'm going to need to wrap this around my wrist so that I don't end up losing it. It also comes with a power cable, a magnetic phone clamp, and then the manual. So there is software for both Android and Apple iOS devices. So let's go ahead and unbox this and see what we get. So I'm going to make a little slit here. Okay, and in addition to that, I also did get this full light phone clamp. Now this is just a little additional clamp that has two built-in LEDs on it, so you can get that extra exposure if you need from your cell phone footage. Okay, so let's see what this comes with. How do you open it? Okay, so there is, of course, a little sticker you have to remove. Okay, so barcode on the cover to get to the software. So there's a DJI Mimo app. It tells you how to unfold the gimbal itself, how to connect the clamp to the gimbal, and how to connect your phone to the clamp. And then, of course, how to power on the device. Okay, you got your, what is this? This is interesting. So this pamphlet that carries all the instruction manuals has this little spongy thing to it. I guess this is to keep the gimbal itself from getting scratched and also from bouncing around, which is something new. So you get your instruction manual as well as some other paperwork. I wonder if there's an actual purpose for this, but it looks like, for the most part, it's there to cushion the gimbal itself. Okay, and then the gimbal, which, has this nice solid feel to it. It's pretty hefty. Okay, it locks into place just by flipping it up, And then by powering it on, it should automatically just activate. So it does lock, so you hear a click, which means it's locked in place. It's definitely high quality material. And on the bottom, it's got a little screw in case you want to attach this to a tripod. There's a trigger on the back, a dial joystick on the front, the record button, a refresh button, a mode button which serves as the power button as well, and then a plus or minus dial as well. It's got this haptic feedback to it feels like as well, and it just feels good in the hand. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and power this off for now. It's super portable. So you just close it, clamp it down. Okay. Then you've got, what is this? Okay, so a riser, which you can connect, I guess you can peel off the back to connect to the mount itself for smaller phones. So if you got the iPhone 7, 8, SE2, Samsung S8, etc., this is what this is for. Looks like it's the little tripod, which is also made of this heavy-duty, durable plastic material and sits out pretty wide. It just feels pretty solid, so you can screw this thing into the bottom of the gimbal. So that it can stand. And then you've got a USB-C to USB-A cable. You've got the strap itself. And then this is the mount, the magnetic mount. So it does come with a nice looking dust cloth / bag, so you can carry your gimbal and keep it protected and safe. That does have a DJI logo on it, so it feels nice. And you can also use this to clean off your screen, I guess, on your cell phone. Then you've got the magnetic gimbal itself. So just pull this out. It looks pretty cool. It looks like a metal bracelet, you know, one of those watches or something. Okay. So again, you know, you just lift this up to open it, and it should be magnetic. So once it's got a little pattern on the back. So once you bring it next to the thing, whoa, it's a strong magnet. Actually, it just like pulled it right out of my hand. So don't have to worry about it disconnecting. So as you can see, as it gets pretty close, it just pulls it and sucks it into place. Okay, and I do have my cell phone here. So it is detractable or retractable or expandable, and it's made of metal, so it's pretty durable and strong. Okay, so as you can see, it does hold the phone, and my phone is wobbling around right now, but I think when I power this thing on, it should right side the phone. Yep. So as you can see, the legs or the tripod itself can extend this gimbal as well. You can control it down, up, left, and right. And it is smooth. And I guess once you install the software itself, you should be able to control the phone recording as well. I don't think it works right now without it. But very smooth operations. Okay, so let's go ahead and power this off, and we'll talk quickly about the specs. Okay, so from a specs perspective, this DJI OM5 has Active Track 4.0. It's got 3-axis stabilization features. It's got the magnetic design, which you saw, how strong that magnet is. And then it's got this built-in extension rod, which also serves as a base and tripod. So that's something that's pretty nice about it. It comes in the standard DJI gray color right now, which is what most of the new devices are coming in. And what's additionally nice is if you will need to do some long-range selfie slots, you can extend the neck of this as well, so you can get more range out of the gimbal itself and still control it. The good thing about this is even though you extend it, you still have full control of your phone, and it still works flawlessly. So definitely something that's a nice function and feature for this gimbal itself. Now when it comes to accessories, I did purchase this fill light phone clamp, so let's go ahead and pull this off and take a look and see what this is all about. So you do get your manual with this, you get another USB-C cable, and then the clamp itself, which is also a magnetic clamp, but in addition to the magnetic piece, it's got these two LEDs on the top and the bottom. Now it's also got a USB-C port on the bottom as well as a power button on the back, because this is a self-operated, self-powered light that's separate from the gimbal itself. So as you can see, you can power the light on, which is pretty bright, and there are 3 levels of brightness. So there's a low, medium, and high. Now what's nice about this thing is you can also, at the top of this clamp, there is a button so you can change the temperature of the light. So you can go from your everyday white to a more softer color and something in between, to full daylight light again. So definitely able to switch between 3 different settings and 3 different brightness levels, which is something that's pretty unique for this gimbal. So very well thought out by DJI. Okay, so let's go ahead and power that off. And the way this thing works, of course, you can unattach or detach the original clamp that comes with it, pull it apart and remove it, and then connect the LED clamp to it. Now I gotta say, the original clamp is made of metal, but the LED clamp, the clamp part is made of plastic, which, you know, feels durable, but it's not as durable feeling as the metal clamp. But then again, you know, this is an LED you're looking at. But again, the purpose for this, of course, is the LEDs. So let's check out how strong the magnet on this is. So again, also a very strong magnet. So again, when you do power this back on, it will right size your phone, and then you can turn on the LED based on the brightness level that you do need for when you're shooting using your phone. So you can use this for video or selfie photos, definitely. So that's something that's pretty cool. Okay, so we'll go ahead and power this off again. Okay, so from a battery life perspective, this DJI OM5 should work for about 6 hours before you need to recharge it. And recharging typically takes about 90 minutes to fully charge this thing up. So not too bad of a battery life for this thing. Now OM5, you might be wondering what that means. So this is the Osmo Mobile line of products, so made for your mobile devices. So this is great for social media, selfie kind of posts and content. However, you can also turn it sideways if you are filming for YouTube, or you know, just you want a landscape version of the video or content you're trying to create as well. So that is always pretty nice. And most of the time, since I don't really do TikTok, but spend most of my time on creating YouTube content, is going to be focused in this landscape mode. And as you can see, it works even without the software. Now the good thing about the software is it does enable you to allow certain features and control features on the phone, as well as the recording, you know, time lapse, different features and modes. You know, allows you to control all the functions through the software itself. And that's one good thing about DJI, is not only do they have great hardware, but they also have great software to complement the hardware that ties into anything that you want to use it for. Now, if I also want, I can use this and put my phone backwards if I want to use the, you know, LED clamp to focus on things that are not focused on me. So for example, if I want to focus on what's in front of me, I can turn this clamp around as well, or I can turn the phone around and connect it separately. And what's nice is if I don't want to use the selfie camera, I can turn this phone around to use the actual full-size camera on the back of my phone as well. So, you know, really up to you how you want to configure this. But, you know, for me, I'm probably just going to be capturing from a first-person perspective everything, and it just works great. So, as you can see, everything is staying pretty stable, and the gimbal is staying pretty even. Okay, so now the only thing left to do is install the software and then go and take this thing out to test and see how it works. But before we do that, let's go ahead and move some of this stuff aside and then unbox the DJI Action 2, which is another thing that I'm going to be testing and have been keeping an eye on, just because I've always wanted a smaller camera that does produce high quality video. And you know, I have several GoPros that do just that, but this takes it another level because I'm thinking that this is going to be even smaller than the GoPros that I have. So let's go ahead and unbox this one and also see what we get out of this. On the side here, okay, so again, instructions on the inside flap. So another barcode to go and download the software for the DJI Mimo app. So that one app can control both of these devices. And then as well as how to connect and how to use this device or this camera. Again, another pamphlet container with pamphlets, booklets, and instructions, as well as a DJI sticker. Which did not come with the OM5. Okay, so we'll just stick that back in there. And then the OM5 itself. So this is the camera itself, and as you can see, it is very small, smaller than the palm of my hand. And we'll go ahead and remove this. So it does have an LCD on the back. And then it's also got this bottom base piece, which is, I guess, the extended battery and controller. So we'll go ahead and stick that there, which you can then just connect. Oh, it's magnetic. Super strong magnetic connection, and it automatically locks. So to unlock it, all you have to do is press the clamps and then pull it apart. But it is a strong magnet, as you can see in here. Okay, so it looks like a couple of accessories. This being, I'm not sure. Okay, so this looks like it's a little base. Okay, so it looks like this is an LCD screen on it as well. I'm not sure where this base goes. Okay, so this is looks like it goes into the back of something, but there is this cover on it with the little rubber like sticky piece. So I guess you just can stick this on the back of this so that you can mount it to things, which is pretty nice. But I'm not going to go ahead and remove this protective film because I'm not going to use it for that right now. And then let's see what else we get. Okay, and then of course the back that this connects to. Okay, so this is a mount actually. So I can go ahead and mount this on devices. So this sticky piece goes on, I just stick it onto certain pieces. And it is reusable, it's not a one-time use device. It just says on the back of this, it's nano rubber that can be reused after cleaning with water. So if you lose that stickiness, just clean it with water and you should get that stickiness back. So this lets you stick this camera onto other devices or things. So again, magnetic and super strong. Then you can unscrew it to go ahead and make adjustments so that you can connect it to things. Okay, so great for bikes and things like that, surfboards, walls, things like that. So it can be a little spy camera. Okay, so that's a pretty cool accessory. Again, super strong magnets. Okay, and then let's see what else this thing comes with. Okay, so you get your USB-C to USB-A charging cable. Okay, and this is the lanyard for it. So this lanyard is adjustable for your neck, and it's also magnetic. So if I'm looking at the instructions correctly, it just magnetizes and just sticks. I wonder if you can put it on the wrong way. and it only goes on one way. See, so if I'm trying to magnetize it, it just bounces right off. So get it near it and it sticks and fits perfectly. Then you stick it. So this is if you're just trying to carry it. What's weird is it gonna right size? Because right now the camera itself is upside down, so I'm gonna assume that this thing rotates based on internal compass or telemetry, so it knows which side is right side up. So if it is connected upside down this way, then at least it'll right size the video that you're trying to capture. But it is a super strong magnet, so you don't have to really worry about it coming right off or falling off. So nice to have if you just want to put this around your neck and just carry it around like a necklace. So something like that. Now the other good way to put, I guess, that you can connect this is if you just want to connect it to your shirt, you can put this inside your shirt and then just stick it on, and then it just sticks as well, so you can't see the lanyard, but it's still stuck pretty good. It's stuck through the shirt, so you know it doesn't flop around. Instead, it'll just stay because your shirt won't move. So as you're moving, it stays focused on what's in front of you without swinging around and flipping around. Okay, and then this last thing, or this last accessory. Okay, so another mount, and this one's for other types of mounts. So again, it is magnetic. I'm going to take this off here, and again, just magnetizes onto it and allows you to connect to other devices or other accessories. So pretty nice, actually. Man, that magnet is strong. Okay, so connecting it. So it automatically powers on the bottom piece when it's connected. Okay, top button is to power it on. So screen locked. Okay, so setup, and it's got a very clear LED screen. So English, and it is a touch screen too, which is always nice. Swipe to unlock. Okay, so English. Okay, so it has to go through the setup, and what's nice is you have a front-facing LED, so you can see what the camera is seeing if you're recording a selfie, or you have an LCD on the back, so if you're filming what's in front of you, you also have a view of what you're filming. And again, I don't think it can connect backwards. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and install the Mimo software and charge both of these products up, and we'll go out and test and see how well these work and what the video footage looks like specifically for this. I'm super excited for this, and I know how this is going to work already, but I'm also super excited for this. So we'll get everything prepared and then we'll go out and test these things out. Now, as a device, this thing has had a bit of controversy and some complaints, or at least it did in the past when it first came out. Now, one of the complaints about this Action 2 when it first came out and early on was that this thing does overheat very easily. So it does produce a lot of excessive heat, which is expected from a lot of these new high-end mini cameras. But the complaint about this one was that after 3 minutes of high bitrate filming, this thing would just automatically shut off or stop recording. So hopefully that's something that they did fix, knowing that this thing has been out for a while already, either through firmware or hardware improvements. There was a thermal case that they offered to give you or send you, or actually include in the box, to address the issue and make it capable of filming a little bit longer before overheating. However, in this box it did not come with that thermal casing, so I have yet to go online to check to see if that's something that I can still get for free, and even if this still has a thermal issue, but we'll go ahead and figure that out once we test this thing out. The other complaint is that there is no SD card slot on this or removable battery, so you are limited to the memory that's in this device, which is currently 32 gigs, as well as the battery until you recharge it. So once the battery dies or once you run out of memory, you're done. until you transfer the files off and recharge this device. And that's also probably going to be a complaint of mine as well, since I am starting to record most of my content in 4K as well, which means that memory will run out pretty fast. So I'm going to have to stop and transfer files over to my PC before I can continue recording. As for recording modes, you can record in 1080p as well as 4K, either 30, 60, up to 120 frames per second, which is very nice. Of course, then the file sizes also get larger, which means that the 32 gigs of internal memory is going to start running out quicker. So, you gotta be very selective of the content you're filming and what kind of quality you're going to want to film in and for what purpose. So lots to consider, but as we go and test this out, we'll test to see if this thing still has thermal issues, for one, and two, what the video quality looks like and how well it works, knowing that I've got a limited amount of memory and a limited amount of battery space as well. I do think that there are additional attachments now, but that doesn't really solve for the thermal issue if it still exists. And will actually determine if I want to keep this or return this. Because what I do like about it is, of course, again, this feature that I can connect it to myself and that I probably won't lose it because of how strong this magnet is. Now, the reason why that's important to me is because I have had a number of action cameras where I've lost them just because they either fell out of my hand, I left them somewhere, or it came undone from the strap or the gear that I was using. This one doesn't seem like it's going to remove itself, and it's adjustable, I guess, based on how you adjust the strap. So I don't think that's going to be a problem with this one. However, the overheating and thermal issues probably going to be a problem of mine if it still exists. So we'll go ahead and find out how this thing works. Okay, and I was wrong. I was shipped the magnetic protective case. I just forgot to unbox it. So let's go ahead and see what this is all about. And I think they were saying that this magnetic protective case is supposed to help it not overheat. Okay, so again, these are magnetized as well, which is nice. I'd say they're not as strong of a magnet as on the cameras itself, but still not bad at all. Okay, so this goes on this piece, and this goes on the camera itself. Oh, and even the case is magnetic and pulls the camera in. Okay, and then this makes it super magnetic. So this is what the protective case looks like. It is a plastic material. Looks like I got a hair stuck between them, but also super secure. So not only will this help with thermal issues, but it also protects the case from any kind of drops. And based on some of the feedback that I read, it gives it maybe an additional 3 minutes from a thermal perspective, overheating perspective, gives you additional 3 minutes of filming time before it overheats. But hopefully, they have addressed the thermal issues and it isn't as big of an issue anymore, but we'll find out again as we test this thing out. Alright, so installing the software should be fairly easy. So go ahead and scan that barcode, and since it is the DJI Mimo software, it should work for both devices. Okay, so it looks like it takes you to a video. Okay, so in terms of installing the software, let's go ahead and go get the software itself. Okay, so we'll search for the DJI Mimo. Okay, so turn on the device. We'll do one device at a time. So we'll Install the Osmo first. Okay, so it found the OM or the OM5, so we'll go ahead and connect that. Okay, so in order to get this to work, let's go ahead and mount the phone. Okay, now when it is mounted, I have it mounted upside down though. Would be nice if I mounted it right side up. If you hit the record button, it should automatically start recording. Record again to stop. Okay, so you go through a tutorial. So the trigger recenters it. Okay, so you can also do tracking by selecting your area, and then as you move, the camera will track. So that's pretty cool. The M button to switch photo modes. So now to photos, and then the shutter button to take a photo, which will then be stored on your phone itself. So you do get these tones as well. Okay, so complete the tutorial. Okay, and if I want to change the orientation. Okay, and what's nice is on the phone app itself, it also shows you the battery level on the bottom right over here, which is always nice. So if I'm showing now, so as you can see on the bottom right here, it shows the battery level. So several different options. So as you can see here, there's hyperlapse, there's time lapse, there's dynazoom, there's slow motion, video, photo, pano, and then story mode. Okay, so to turn from portrait to landscape, tap the switch button twice. What's the switch button? Oh, okay, so that's this little rotate button here on the bottom to rotate to pano mode, or you can just simply just turn it using your hand, but I think I'd rather use the gimbal controls. So that's how you do your landscape or portrait. So that's using the installed software here. Now, one of the things that I had noticed when I was trying to charge this was that on the bottom of the double screen is actually a mini SD card slot. So there is actually an SD card expansion slot on here so that you are not limited to the internal memory of the camera itself. Now, I don't know if that's a new feature or something that they added, especially because this camera has been out for a while. So I don't know if this has been updated to include that SD slot, or you know, if the reviews that I had watched previously didn't have this dual screen connector. But it looks like DJI did listen to the customers, and there is currently now a mini SD card slot on the camera itself, at least, you know, if you are buying the dual screen version of it. Now again, if you are buying just the single screen, I do not see a SD card slot on here for that. So if it's just this screen you have, I can see how that's a complaint. But you know, because I did buy the dual screen version, there is an SD card slot on the bottom of this, so that I am not just limited to this. Now hopefully, in addition to that, the thermal issues have been fixed, but again, we'll see as we test this out. This did die, so I wasn't able to install and connect it to the software yet, so I'm going to have to charge this first, and then we'll come back to it and test it out, as well as the gimbal itself. So I'll charge these up, install the software, and we'll go out and test the functionality of both of these devices. Okay, so while it's charging, I think I can power this on and add it to the software. So let's see. Okay, so connecting the DJI Action. Okay, and of course you need to accept the code on the device itself. Agree. Forgot my DJI login. Okay, and we'll activate the camera. Okay, so I connected the camera, and it's still low on battery, so we need to charge it. One good thing that I learned about this camera also is that this top module is completely waterproof. So you can, I think, go down 10 meters or something like that with this camera. But that doesn't mean the accessories or the attachments are. So the camera itself is waterproof. However, whenever you attach any of these other accessories or devices to it, those are not waterproof. So in order for you to take those underwater or into the water, you'll need to buy the additional housing that is available on DJI's website. In addition to that, this camera also has a number of different accessories that are also very useful. So for example, it has its own little handheld gimbal attachment that is also useful, which I plan to get, as well as some other accessories. But I think there's been a lot of improvements over time from a software perspective, from a hardware perspective as well, potentially. But again, once this thing is fully charged, we'll test out to see if, once this thing is fully charged, we'll check to see if any improvements have been made from a thermal perspective. Right off the bat, just by turning it on, it does start to get warm to the touch. So hopefully it won't get too hot and overheat while we're trying to film some content using these cameras. Okay guys, so as you can see, I am now using the DJI OM attached to my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and I have activated the active track on it. So it has enabled it so that my phone can track me as I'm recording video, no matter where I turn. So I could just stand here and turn my hand around. Now one thing I'd say is it is not super responsive. So if I was to move too fast, it has a hard time of keeping up, but it will still try to track me, which is always a nice feature. Now the video quality of course doesn't make a difference because I am using my iPhone. This is fairly lightweight compared to other selfie sticks, but I will say it has got some weight to it still, just because my phone is an additional piece of weight that you add to it. I do like the extended neck for this because it allows you to definitely hold this a lot farther away so you can capture more quality. And then it's also got a nice stand on it as well. They do have the functionality to also zoom in and out and go through different modes, which is nice. Now, if I flip this over to the front-facing camera, which I can do by pressing the switch button on the bottom once. Now I'm using the front-facing camera. Okay, so if I select my car as the object of focus, I can just move around and the camera will continue to track the car as a part of the center of the screen, as you can see. Now hopefully, as you can see from a stability perspective, the DJI OM does a pretty good job as I'm walking towards my car. Now I don't know about you, but I'm a pretty bouncy walker, so as you can see, as I'm panning and doing all kinds of different movements, the DJI OM is still solid and smooth from a video perspective. Now I'm definitely going to use this DJI OM for such things as B-roll, because when you're filming B-roll, you want to make sure everything is smooth. So as you can see, with the auto track enabled, it does a great job. Okay, so now that I've done a brief field test for both the DJI OM as well as the DJI Action 2, what do I think? Now specifically for the DJI OM, I think it's a great gimbal and definitely something that I can use going forward, especially when I'm traveling. I do like the build quality of the OM itself, and it does have a ton of features. I especially like the extendable base, which I can use especially when I'm traveling alone to take selfies or self-shot videos. The controls are great. I think it offers up a lot of great stabilization features, and I'm definitely going to be using this to start shooting my B-roll for my videos just because of how good it is. I also like the extendable base stand that comes with it, as well as the LED clamp that you can purchase extra. The LED works for low light situations and I think is adequate enough to light up any object that's directly in front of the camera itself. Overall, this does seem like a very durable product and seems to be worth the money that I paid for it. Now when it comes to the Action 2, I'm on the fence about this one. I'm not sure if I actually want to keep this one or return it. Now, I do think that it's got great build quality. I like the aluminum metallic frame that it's built into. And I absolutely love that this device and all the accessories that it has are magnetic. This just overall makes it a lot easier to connect, disconnect, and attach different accessories and attachments. Now what continues to be a disappointment that DJI has not addressed yet is how fast this thing overheats. The camera itself has been out for over a year, and many people have complained about it on the forums, and I just got it and it's still having these overheating issues. Now one thing that DJI tried to do to address this issue is to send this case with it, which is supposed to help to dissipate the heat that this thing produces so that it'll last a couple seconds to a couple minutes longer. But even then, it doesn't last long enough. As you can see from my footage, it only lasted a couple minutes before it overheated and shut itself off. Now the only other thing that I found that would allow me to record a little bit longer was to go into the temperature settings and change the allowance of the temperature to high, which then would allow it to record a little bit longer before it shuts off. Now that isn't a fix overall because eventually it would still overheat and shut itself off. Now at $200 to $500, depending on which combo or which configuration you get, I cannot in good conscience recommend this device for that amount of money. When you're spending that much for a device, you expect it to work all of the time for as long as you need it. But right now, because this thing only lasts a little while before it overheats, I definitely would not spend the money for something like this. All the features are great, but it doesn't do the job that it's supposed to do. Now if DJI was to eventually fix this issue with either a firmware update or something, then that's when I would recommend this device. But right now, for the price and because it doesn't last that long, I wouldn't recommend it. Now most of the complaints, the negative comments and negative reviews that I read about this device's recording time was people who recorded at 4K where it didn't last very long. Now to be fair, when I did my testing, I set this camera to 1080p and even then it didn't last very long before it overheated and shut itself down. Now if DJI was to eventually address this issue through either a hardware fix or some kind of software update that would fix these thermal issues, then I would probably recommend this device because everything else aside from the overheating issue is great. Now one other minor thing about this Action 2 camera that bothered me was the SD card requirements. Now most of my HD and 4K cameras I typically use the SanDisk Extreme SD cards, which usually works because they're fast enough to record up to 4K video. With this Action 2 camera, I was both not able to format this card or record to the card because I kept getting an error message saying that this card is not fast enough to record this video from this camera. And that also includes when I was trying to record at 1080p. It would not support that SanDisk Extreme card, which I have not figured out a solution for. Now all in all, those are the two biggest complaints that I have about this device. Now the third and final letdown that I guess I have with this Action 2 camera is that this single module itself, which is the one that you're probably going to use the most, does not have an expansion slot for an SD card. You will need to buy the extra modules and accessories in order to have that capability. And even then you'll need to buy high-end SD cards in order for it to work. Now what's nice though is that this module by itself, even though it's just got internal storage, is completely waterproof, so I can take this thing to go diving, which I guess in that case also won't have any thermal issues, because at least when I'm diving, the water will keep this camera cool. At least I hope so, so that it won't overheat and shut off. And then of course it is waterproof, so I don't have to worry about it also getting damaged or failing on me if I go diving with just this module. But then again, of course, you're limited to the internal storage and the internal battery, which both aren't as much as I'd like on an action camera. Now that's not to say that I cannot attach these accessories and then buy the additional waterproof case and have both the SD card features and the waterproof capability to take this whole device diving, so that in that case I will have both the SD expanded memory as well as the extended battery time for me to use when I'm diving. Now aside from those three things, which are major concerns, I do think this thing does take some great video quality, and I like where DJI is headed. Hopefully over time, and I guess more firmware updates, this thing does get a little bit better, but knowing that it's been out for a year, I'm not holding my breath. If nothing else, I do hope DJI continues to improve upon this design, and maybe for the Action 3 address a lot of the issues and concerns that people have, especially those three big things in the DJI Action 3. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell icon to get notified when I post new content. Until next time, see ya.